Hey everyone, welcome back to Vampire the Masquerade: Reckoning of New York. When we finished Callie's story a few weeks ago, we actually unlocked a new storyline for Padraic. And really the main reason I want to play this is just to see if there's some way for us to avoid the rather bad end that Padraic came to at the end of Callie's story, at least from Callie's perspective. So, can our Irish laddie survive? Well, let's push play and find out. This screen initially did not have Padraic sitting in it. Now it does. Very cool. Well, Padraic, let's find out. Dominate gives kindred the ability to control the actions of others, alter their memories, and force others to act against their own volition. Auspex allows kindred to sift out the truth from lies and read the minds around them. Obfuscate allows kindred to hide easily, move without being noticed, and divert the eyes of observer. I think he is notices what goes around constant, and has a little bit of ESP going on here. So we'll choose Auspex. Interesting. Do I not have any available points? I guess not. Okay. Alright. Okay. Fine. Whatever. Night 1. The Dragon. December 2024. 7 nights till New Year's. Vritria's cruise ship. The Brooklyn Bridge shimmering in the East River at night casts a hauntingly beautiful reflection. Despite witnessing countless global spectacles, there's an uncanny allure here. The flow of headlights. It reminds me of souls embarking on their eternal quest to Magmael. Hard to pinpoint why, really, although it might be about the company soon to join me. I wish I were able to immerse myself in this scene, truly appreciate it. But tonight's not the night. I'm a patient man, unbothered by impulses, scornful of fleeting whims. Hell, I actively fight against those whose very ideas every second of my own life, with reason as my guide, resolve as my sword, and my ring as my shield. And I'm accustomed to waiting here, on the deck of this opulent ship, where I'm expected to feel put into my place, to earn her precious time. Vritria, say what you might, those in the city wronged by her certainly do not mince words. Knows very well how to maneuver power dynamics under constant pressure. The lesser players wait, while those in control choose when and where to make their appearance. And so, I wait. Normally it wouldn't bother me. I know what paltry regard she has for me. But I'm due elsewhere in half an hour, and this delay is making it impossible to be in Queens on time. The very idea of being late vexes me to the core. Not only because I detest tardiness and being reprimanded for it, but also because it is utterly unbecoming of my position among the upper echelons of New York City. My role as mediator between the Anarchs and Camarilla might seem superficial, empty, perhaps. But this position was thrust upon me, scornfully, I might add. It's better to play along, and show them that their disdain is hardly enough to undermine my resolve. I'm shaken out of my reverie by the sound of soft, clacking footsteps on the deck. It seems she's deigned to grant me an audience. Greetings, Vitra. She doesn't respond at first, slowly sizing me up and clearly enjoying my unease. She's the only person in whose presence I feel self-conscious about my perpetual slouch. Not that it matters. Even if I stood upright, she would still tower over me like the mythical demon from whence she got her name. Forgive me for prying, but I'm already late for the council meeting. Is there a particular reason you've delayed me? Put me at the risk of arousing their suspicions. Vritria's face remains cold and unscrutable except for the corner of her lips, stretching minutely to a half-smile. There is a reason behind everything I do, dear boy, as you know perfectly well. Shouldn't a fashionably late arrival at Elysium diminish your perceived threat? No, it just makes me look like a despised scatterbrain could hardly pose any danger to the ivory tower, yes? Now tell me, is there anything you'd like to share regarding the council? I want to answer her, but suddenly all I can hear are the echoing voices in my mind. Spill it. Tell her. Tell on them, lad. Yeah. My hand instinctively seeks out my dice ring and spins it violently. You're nothing to them. Yeah. Fuck 'em, boy. Fuck all of them. It lands on the 20 and the clamor in my head stops. Thank God. I straighten my back just a little. Spying on the council for you is not part of our agreement. I am not one of your pawns in this game. Surely you can get all the information you need elsewhere. She just smirks and stares at me unblinkingly with her unnerving, unmoving eyes. As much as I try to be stern, I'm not delusional. I know she could easily force anything she wanted out of me. But she probably won't. First, she wouldn't want me to break her toy, especially one with so much potential. Second, since I have revealed nothing so far, she clearly must have another source of intel, but I have no idea where, despite my short, private investigation on the matter. We stand in a prolonged, tense silence, with Vritria simply watching. Has the voice manifested itself again lately? I nod, just nod. Tell me. It is a command, not a request. Thankfully, it's one I'm glad to follow. Forgive me, but it was all rather convoluted. I caught fragments about the price of pursuit, the asking, and the shadow of the day star. But I don't know what any of that means. She nods to herself, her eyes still locked with mine until I can't help but avert my gaze under the immense pressure. Then, surprisingly, for the first time tonight, it is she who turns away, looking thoughtfully to the horizon. And I can feel that rare impatience in me grow and fester like a wound. What's the purpose of our meetings if you keep your insights to yourself? Nobody's more surprised at this sudden outburst than myself, but the frustration forces me to move forward, even in spite of Vritria's slowly rising eyebrows. I have to understand the nature of the voice. I need to know why it speaks to me, and why it's different from all the others that I can control. When Vritria faces me again, her eyebrows are relaxed, her lips slightly upturned. All in due time, dear boy. Her grin widens, sending shivers down my spine. In several nights' time, I will gain knowledge beyond your imagination, an insight into the very fabric of our dark world. An associate but mine is nearing the end of his task, a task that heralds a new dawn. The end of your quest is nigh, but to that end I have to offer you a new bargain. I will share my knowledge with you, but only if you agree to accept it. I do not remember the sensation of my mouth drying up in excitement, but I assume it resembles closely what I'm experiencing now. Try to refuse. Let's see what happens. I should not do it. I cannot become like Fionn, blindly consuming the salmon of knowledge, oblivious to potential fallout. I don't... But I'm not strong enough to refuse. What would you have me do? Worry not. I won't make you go against your beliefs. I just need you to keep the council engrossed in the matters of least importance. Allow myself to feel a small bout of relief and smile a little. Well, that shouldn't prove difficult. Council's already consumed by infighting instead of solving actual problems. Vritria smirks, showing rows of sharpened teeth. That may well change soon. Very soon indeed. Make sure to steer them away from anything that might hinder my cause. This time when she turns away with a gentle swish of tulle, it's clear. The audience is over. I nod at her and take my leave, or I am taken to my leave, rather, and escorted back to the same RIB that brought me here nearly an hour ago. As we make our way to the shore, I stare at the ship a little longer, marveling despite myself. It's a perfect blend of low-key and lavish, always on the move, an impenetrable, inaccessible river fortress. No surprise Vritria chose this vessel as her base of operations. The fact that she never leaves its decks shrouds both the ship and the Hudson Dragoness herself in even more mystique. This deliberate aura of mystery has sparked considerable speculation about her nature over the last year and a half. Even though I've been meeting with her regularly for months, she remains an enigma to me, aside from the fact that she must be one of the, if not the, most formidable kindred on the East Coast. One might think that only fools would deal with the devil, and normally I would concur. But if Vritria holds the keys to the answer I've been chasing for the better part of a century. The Daystar cometh, Fionn. Then I am prepared to rock Finn's... I think that's Finn's. I am prepared to walk Finn's path, regardless of cost. New York, Night 1. Rebuke at the Elysium. I shall be late for a crucial meeting at the Elysium, all because of Vritria's ostentatious power play. The Council's growing mistrust of me will surely deepen further. The usually manageable traffic decides to betray me tonight, tacking on an extra 30 minutes to my journey and pushing my fashionably late arrival into plainly rude territory. In moments like this, I cannot shake the feeling that Vritria is manipulating me. Her fingers firmly wrapped around my throat, bending my destiny to her whims as one does a tender young branch. Struggling to put that thought aside, I arrive at the art hole in a sour mood. The Council has the eerie ability to detect even the slightest hint of stress, which they will exploit with all the subtlety of a ravenous bear mangling its prey. To further compound my irritation, one of Qadir's minions, my usual nemesis, guards the entrance to Elysium, with his silent partner by his side. Qadir. What a surprise. My buddy and I were placing bets on how late you'd roll up. Man, if I knew you couldn't care less, I'd have doubled that bet easy. Somehow every word he utters manages to get on my nerves, no matter the topic. I pay them no mind, and make my way to the entrance when suddenly a firm hand on my chest stops me cold. You enter on my say-so, trash. Apologize, like the good boy you are. Let me through. Ain't no way we're letting you just stroll in there. Gotta show some culture. You could not spell culture if the letters came with handles. It's amazing you did not tip over from the sheer weight of ignorance you're lugging around. Now, kindly clear the path, oh great paragon of culture, or I'll clear it through you. He steps back with a vacant retraction of his hand and a dumbfounded look. I tip an imaginary hat his way. The slight improves my mood. But the swift, soundless sway of the door to Elysium extinguishes the last flicker of my spirits. I've never harbored an affinity for modern art. It seems too loud, chaotic, and excessively abstract for my taste. Perhaps I am old-fashioned. Or perhaps I'm simply too old. I have learned to appreciate the frequent exhibits at the art hole, mostly out of necessity. My participation in discussions among the council members is minimal, so perhaps it was sheer boredom that eased my aversions, if ever so slightly. For instance, now would be an ideal moment to immerse myself in the extensive collection of street art on display, the latest and, for the moment, last exhibit before the gallery is temporarily closed under the pretense of renovation. For the past month, the space has undergone a significant transformation. The cavernous gallery, which used to echo with awed gasp inspired by the art, is now cluttered with equipment. The art hole has been converted into a makeshift command center by the order of Qadir, the local sheriff. And since a deafening silence befell the room the moment I stepped inside, there is nothing left for me but to look around and wait for the impending rebuke. I would much rather study the art pieces than endure the stern gazes of the council members, each laden with barely concealed disdain. You must be setting some kind of record, mediator, an hour and a half late. Qadir scoffs. His respect was never mine to claim, and judging by his unyielding expression, that door is now firmly shut. Take it on the chin. All right. Please accept my sincerest apologies, esteemed members of the council. I assure you, this will not happen again. Our dear guest, your friend the Baron of the Bronx has already made amends on your behalf. Quite persistently, I might add. Almost as if he foresaw this mediation role falling to himself. I shoot a glance at Torque. He can play it cool, but knowing him, he's fuming inside. Your appearance has already thrown us off course. Assume your position and let's proceed without further interruption unless you feel the need to mediate that proposition. I nod, silently feigning remorse, though there's little need to pretend. I genuinely detest being late. As I was saying, another group of Duskborn was destroyed last night, including a few Chantry-recognized alchemists. The onslaught has only escalated since Larson's final death 2 weeks ago. Oh, please, Aisling. Larson was naught but a laughingstock. I take a seat next to Torque, and he immediately leans closer, lowering his voice to a whisper that rumbles like distant thunder. What in the actual fuck, Padraic? You took forever. No one here knows about my little trips over the Hudson, not even Torque. It's likely that not even Vritria's closest allies are aware of my involvement with her. That's why I always keep a handy excuse up my sleeve, one that's increasingly easy to concoct these days, though I wish it wasn't necessary. Well, I encountered the troublemakers again. Had to clean myself up before coming here. Damn. How many? Just a couple of unprepared fanatics, hardly an epic tale. I'm just a bit vexed that they held me up. And you didn't think to mention it sooner? If anything can get Qadir off your back, it's that. Come on, Torque. Do you really believe he'd buy that? Torque gives me a look of mute understanding before he casts a sidelong glance at Qadir. Given the sheriff's interests in the hunter threat, I suspect he would question me about it rigorously, and I cannot risk losing grip on my tall tales. Look. I get that these nights are hard, but you've got to step it up, Padraic. You're making me look bad in front of the council. And our truce is already hanging by a thread. Fuck that mutt. Who the hell does he think he is? I know. I'm sorry about that. I listen in on the usual bickering of these meetings, but soon enough my mind begins to drift. We're well beyond the administrative stuff, for which I am thankful. That's when I am usually the least welcome and often pointedly asked to step outside the walls of Elysium. Still, I have drawn some conclusions about the current power struggle within the local Camarilla. In short, Addison Payne is making a play for Prince Panhard's position, as her indecisiveness in the face of the current threats keeps undermining her influence, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, noticeable even from as far away as my providence requires me to stand. The root of her problems seems to be the continued fallout from Douglas Callahan's final death. From what I can tell, the former Anarch Baron, with whom she had a blood bond, was too deep into a risky game and got burned badly. The attempt to cover it up as a suicide would have succeeded if it hadn't been for Julia Sawinski throwing a wrench in the works. She exposed the scheme, revealing Carter Vander Vaden, the former Malkavian primogen, as the mastermind behind the murder. Somehow it never sat right with me. Knowing the court members better now, I'm fairly certain Vander Vaden was framed. Although specifically why and by whom remains a mystery. Still, Julia's ascension to La Sombra Primogen appears too swift to be merely a chance. Torx has told me only so much, and I choose not to dig deeper, letting bygones be bygones, but I get the feeling it's a sensitive subject for him, not from any moral compunction, of course, but because he was somewhat involved in Callahan's demise. That naturally brings me to the conclusion that either he has something on Panhard or vice versa, otherwise his presence here wouldn't be accepted, or should I say, tolerated. And maintaining the shaky truce between the Camarilla and the Anarchs would be even tougher these nights. Yet, as Panhard's support continues to erode, strikingly so in the case of Arturo, a man otherwise known only for his long-standing influence on the prince, Torque's sway is in rapid decline. And then, about 6 months ago, the Hunter anomaly appeared completely out of the blue, setting off a downward spiral. I snap out of these musings only to discover that the topic at hand is entirely related to my thoughts. It's the usual interplay between two factions. Qadir pushes for aggressive action against the Hunters, Panhard, belittling the sheriff's stance, advocates for dialogue with Vritria, a tactic that has yet to produce any favorable outcomes. This stalemate seems to be stretching on and on. I lean in closer and whisper to Torque. How long has this been going on? Maybe 2 hours. Honestly, I can't even tell anymore. It's endless and fruitless, as usual. The bickering halts abruptly. like a knife slicing through the tension in the room. I worry that I may have just made my second and likely final mistake of the evening. Fortunately, their glances are directed elsewhere and not at me. I wait, hoping someone will break the uneasy silence. What exactly are you implying, Sheriff? What kind of new lead are we talking about here? Last night, with Valerie's assistance, we ruled out the possibility that the SAD or any other federal agencies tied to the Second Inquisition are behind this aggression. Regrettably, whoever's orchestrating their operations remains a mystery. I must say, this hardly qualifies as a lead. It's more like a monumental setback. Perhaps. However, there has been another development. We suspect that a party from outside New York is involved in the arms trade, directly supplying the hunters with equipment. This party is a member of the Ravnos clan. A ripple of unease spreads through the room. How very fortuitous for you, Qadir, to uncover such vital information at such an opportune moment. There was some fortune in how we came upon this intelligence, I admit. We intercepted a shipment filled with firearms. The shipment had almost no traceable marks. The driver, a ghoul, only knew about the intermediate stops and provided no clues about the final recipient. Sounds like onion rooting to me, honestly. Perhaps. But we managed to loosen the driver's tongue enough to force a name out of him. Reynard Cassell. One of us. One of us. I pay close attention as the room falls quiet. The sheriff milks the silence masterfully like a seasoned thespian. Even I have to admit that is impressive. Our research on Cassell suggests he's somewhat an obscure con artist and a part-time blood dealer who specializes in acquiring specific blood resonances. His name has surfaced in a couple of reports over recent years, yet until now his schemes seemed irrelevant to our operations. If this Cassell has indeed been trading blood beyond our oversight, the circulatory system would certainly be aware of it. Well, I've got multiple confirmations on that story from different sources. And really, I think ignoring a potential clue just because your drones screwed up their records pane is pretty damn foolish. Considering the scant information available on Cassell based on what we know now, I'd say he's quite adept at staying off-grid. The name doesn't ring a bell. Wonder if Matto knows something about this Ravnos crook. But even if he does, he probably wouldn't talk about it, haunting past and all. In any case, one thing is certain. There is a kindred actively stoking the fires of war by supplying our enemies with military equipment. The evidence we've compiled on Cassell might be circumstantial, but when you take a step back, it adds up. I'm convinced Cassell is the key to exposing the brains behind the Hunter movement. Sounds too good to be true. Yet despite my reservations about Qadir, he is usually on point. Forgive me, Qadir, but it all sounds like wishful thinking. How does a nobody from nowhere suddenly rise to warlord status, just like that? Most crucially, why hasn't he been apprehended yet? We've been on his trail for a couple of nights now, but he continues to elude us. As for his motives, we may be close to uncovering them. Well, stop with the mysteries, Sheriff, and give us something substantial. The way Qadir levels Arturo with a look, I'd rather not find myself on the receiving end of his gaze. We've learned that Cassell's child recently surfaced in New York. Valerie was tasked with delivering her to the council. She should be escorting her to Elysium as we speak. And you chose not to disclose this because... Arturo unceremoniously interrupts the prince. I squint at him with surprise. With his sophisticated manners, such uncouth behavior is highly irregular. What true insight could the child of a trickster possibly offer? Dishonesty is the clan's trade. It's doubtful she knows anything of Cassell's scheme, and if she does, she's likely to feed us with lies. That's a remarkably astute observation for you, Arturo. I'm surprised. However, that's not the reason I'm bringing her in. My plan is to squeeze her until she spills her guts or her cries lure Cassell out from wherever he's hiding. A commotion rises, and Panhard gets onto her feet. Have you finished weaving your fantasies, Qadir? Because I can't Have you finished weaving your fantasies, Qadir? Because I can't entertain these delusions any longer. We've already lost too much time to go on with this while the true crisis goes unaddressed. It is not me who is delusional, Prince. Or should I remind you of your own lapses in judgment? The bickering erupts once more. I tune it out and lean into Torque. Do you know anything about this Cassell figure? Bits and pieces. I know at least one of ours has brought blood off of him. Wouldn't call that Raven a major player, even if he was drawing blood from Cain himself. But that's not the real issue here. What Qadir is suggesting, it's a move that might just help us clear out the bastards that have been escalating their attacks on our turf. And it's not just blindly charging into the night looking for clashes the way Qadir loves to. The front door opens with a sudden yet graceful swing. It's Valerie, with another kindred in tow. None other than Cassell's child. The girl's a peculiar sight. Petite, dressed in what I can only describe as questionably fashionable rags. She scans the room with the eyes of someone calculating her quickest exit, understandable given the circumstances. I glance at the council, but they are too wrapped up in their argument to notice. Valerie doesn't seem eager to interrupt. Wouldn't have been such an issue if we had taken action when the signs were so glaringly obvious. If only the rest of us If only the rest of us were blessed with your profound gift of foresight, Sheriff, and life would be a walk in the park. Allow me to emphasize, our risks aren't limited onto a single front. Acting on a gut feeling might work wonders in the movies. Here in the real world, it's a different story. Spare me the pretense of ignorance, Arturo. The pattern was unmistakable well over a month ago. Now... Little bitch, bad news is what she is. Liar, liar, liar. Upon a closer look, Cassell's child looks wholly innocuous. Hardly the type you would associate with any kind of hostile activity, but something about her unsettles me, a feeling I can't quite put into words. My ring is spinning before I even acknowledge the need to do so. Your playful decision to allow the Thin Bloods to appoint Larson as their primogen raises his final death to a level that can't be casually swept under the rug, Helene. Thin-blooded or not, it throws into question our grip on the situation. What would you have me do then? Unleash our dear sheriff without adequate reconnaissance just in the name of haste? We can't overlook his excessive efficacy in the last skirmish, can we? Doesn't the prospect of a masquerade breach give you pause? I sense Torque shifting next to me, his arm brushing mine. He's agitated, the ongoing argument clearly getting under his skin. I figure we're all fond of keeping things the way they are, but there's times to just sit back and think, and there's times when you gotta step up and do something bold. This feels like it's time to make a move. An anarch championing chaos, a revelation that somehow fails to astonish, oh, esteemed Baron of the Bronx. I steal another glance at the girl. There's a look in her eyes that suggests she knows she's in a tight spot. But does she understand the full extent of the game being played around her, and how little importance the players attach to pawns like her? If deception is indeed a hallmark of her clan, she might. Nevertheless, I can't help but feel a twinge of pity for her, aware as I am of the daunting pressure the council can exert.
The asking is yours, VtM.
Better to rip the band-aid off. We will be here all night if I don't steer their focus her way.
My apologies for interrupting, Mr. Payne, but it appears Miss Duval has brought forth the issue you mentioned earlier. Might be wise to ensure she is not exposed to unnecessary information.
Yes, thank you for that shrewd observation, Qadir. She hurls those words at me like a snake spitting venom. I wonder, would her attitude change if she knew I wasn't truly a Qadir?
Esteemed council, I give you the troublesome Ravnos neonate. I gather you all desire a swift resolution to the matter. Her disruptions have been minimal thus far, so let us hope that trend continues.
Finally, their eyes shift to the matter at hand.
I understand the formal necessity of addressing all this, as well as my role in the matter. However, there are more pressing concerns demanding attention. Far more pressing. Shall we discard all traditions, too, while we're at it? We've pirouetted around the Hudson problem for more than a year, yet progress remains as stale as our debate. Certainly a few additional moments to honor the very laws you spearhead so vigorously couldn't hurt, could they? The Hudson is a completely different beast, as you are well aware. We need to address the locust swarm engulfing New York before Camaria's entire framework crumbles beneath its weight. And how does that sit with you, Payne? Just last night, 2 Duskborn and a fledgling from your clan were reduced to ashes. And we're still in the dark about who's pulling the strings. Shouldn't that worry you more than policing the purity of the red market?
In principle, I agree, Sheriff. However, should we continue to disregard even minor infractions, we broadcast a message of vulnerability. Vulnerability threatens our efforts within and beyond our borders, efforts we plan to carry on without interruption once the locust swarm, as you've termed it, is eradicated.
I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm inclined to agree with Gramps on this one. We can't simply let something like that slip through the cracks without taking proper measures. So you've assumed the role of his advocate now. Quite the bold ascent up the ladder of your own making, Julia. What's next on the horizon? Another hostile... Enough. Enough already.
An uneasy silence falls over the room. Everyone automatically slips into their accustomed roles. A month ago, I might have speculated that their reactions were purely theatrical, honed through years of political maneuvering. But right now, I have little certainty. Perhaps they are genuinely unsettled. When the prince finally manages to speak, her voice lacks the confidence you'd anticipate from someone at the helm. I sense she is not just putting on an act.
We're all here for the same reason you are, Aisling, or am I mistaken? And you forget where your loyalties lie. Now let's put this issue to rest here and now. Strive for brevity, Sheriff.
Understood. Callie of Clan Ravnos, you stand accused of violating the New York Camaria's praxis, infringing on the tradition of hospitality, and endangering the masquerade, among other things.
Wait, on what grounds?
Drop the act. There's a wealth of evidence in that recreational vehicle of yours, most of it confirming the suspicions we have been harboring over the recent months. petty theft from our subjects, impersonation of other kindred, lineage forgery. Need I go on? But your involvement in large-scale blood and mortal trafficking outside our scrutiny and the jurisdiction of the circulatory system is as obvious as it is dangerous to the stability of our domain. Especially with your clientele often being in direct hostility to our interests, as Primogen Payne was kind enough to confirm. While some might chalk this up to colossal stupidity, I am neither so forgiving nor tolerant of fraudsters who respect nothing but their own gain.
I settle in, waiting for the drama to unfold. I'm genuinely curious about how this Raven girl will handle the questioning. What intricate web of lies, what complex, multi-layered stories might she spin just to save herself from the council?
This is not the time to be quiet, Raven.
This is total crap. I don't even own that RV. I snagged it on a rental from this anarch guy in the Bronx.
Oh, you did, huh? What are the odds, right?
See, why don't you grill your Baron friend over there? I wince at the blatant lie, shooting Torque a questioning glance, but he just rolls his eyes with impatience. Well, there was an attempt, I suppose.
I earnestly hope you're not taking me for a fool. That would be a misstep of monumental proportions, unlike anything these walls have witnessed.
Out of the corner of my eye, I catch a glimpse of the Tremere Regent silently mouthing what appears to be, "I beg to differ," and it would be hard to disagree. Suddenly, the air is thick with tension. I catch Torque's eye as he looks at me. Qadir has had enough of the girl's attempts to weave her falsehoods. A curved sword swiftly materializes in his hand, plucked out of thin air.
I'm not here for your games, little Raven. Choose your next words carefully.
I'd argue this utter lunacy clears her of charges. She couldn't even cobble together a feeble story, much less orchestrate clandestine trading of this magnitude. And yarn spinning is supposed to be your clan's fort, isn't it? Last chance, my dear. Anything of substance you wish to add? There's a certain toughness in her demeanor. I look at her intently. Her struggle is clear as the first snow of winter. I wonder if there's more to her than meets the eye.
I try to remain motionless, still as a shadow in a windless night, and fix my gaze on the Raven. Her eyes look beyond what's visible, distant, deep. Yet the only thing I manage to discern is a profound internal conflict hidden beneath the surface.
I guess there's not much point in playing dumb, huh?
Couldn't agree more.
All right, then. So, I am indeed tangled up in this little blood trafficking operation. Playing a pretty crucial part, if I do say so myself, though I guess not everyone's on board with that assessment. I do the logistics, pushing merchandise through a series of dark web channels. Every eyebrow in the room goes up, with the exception of Julia, whose lips curve into a slight smirk. All totally secure and anonymous. No slips about, our thing. Everyone masked by the hustle of more mundane black markets. No way we're blowing the masquerade. We deal in stored blood, as you might have caught on. Not just any blood, though. Our merch is a little jazzed up. Thaumaturgically enhanced, to be exact. It's the only way they'd work, as you're well aware. Right. Of course. Oh, and we also deal in, let's just call them family treasures, but honestly, that's more like a side gig than anything serious. But we're extremely careful about picking our clients and really thorough when it comes to making deals. The traditions and all. I was sure we'd never even come close to breaking them. At least that's what he led me to believe. The girl's voice drops, heavy with faux drama. I had a hunch there were some dodgy dealings in his more secret ventures. To deny that would be a flat-out lie, but let's be real, I'm way outside the inner circle to have a real sway in those parts of his enterprise. An uneasy silence sweeps over the room for a moment. Theatricality at its best. His enterprise. Is this a joke? Exactly who is this he you're referring to? Well, I presumed you knew who was my sire who's masterminding it all. The room is soon filled with muted whispers after the shocking revelation. I refrain from joining the murmuring crowd just yet. Indeed, how fortuitous. And your sire would be...
There's only one other notable rogue in the city who comes to mind. Someone dipping in and out, known for their shifty nature, of which I was somewhat aware. Reynard Cassell.
You nailed it, Chief. Sir. Another brief moment of silence gets interrupted by Julia. I can practically hear the cogs turning in your head, Qadir. What's your take on it?
Truth be told, it does add up, though I had him pegged more as a con artist than a trafficker.
Then why hasn't he been apprehended yet, Sheriff? Are you secretly endorsing activities that impede the circulatory system's operations?
For your own good, Payne, I'll pretend I didn't catch that. Or would you care to question my dedication to our cause again? My patience wears extremely thin these nights.
Can we put the bickering on hold, at least for the moment? Oh, one more thing. Reynard and I had a meeting lined up with a client a few hours back, but he never showed up. In the whole year and a half I've been in this gig, he's never just vanished like this.
And what do you make of it?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure. But now that I think of it, he's changed over the past month. Become a lot more erratic than usual. Ready for my theory? I'm pretty sure he caught wind of your lot and decided to feed me to the flames while he made a run for it. I can't quite explain it, but there's an authenticity in how she constructs her story. Not every single word, perhaps. But the overall intent feels genuine. Honest.
Shut up. Liar, liar, pants on fire.
I believe she truly doesn't know where Cassell is, and it's tearing her apart.
Let her burn. She'll burn you to a crisp, like a piece of trash.
Qadir's approach just doesn't sit right with me, not the way he envisions it.
She is the key.
An unwitting pawn betrayed by her master, a likely story. Suitable for the stage indeed, but in this context, this will just not do at all.
If I may... Damn it, Padraic, don't go getting yourself into...
I ignore Torque, to my future detriment most likely. In an instant, the top echelon of New York's kindred fixed their eyes onto mine with an unmistakable hostility. Since you've already disrupted the proceedings, you might as well say your piece, mediator.
Very well then. I am inclined to believe her, at least in the aspects most significant to the interests of our allies.
As ever, your assertion remains devoid of substance. My guy's advice is pretty much always on point. His track record speaks for itself. I give Torque a grateful look, but he doesn't return it. I'm definitely in for a tongue lashing later. That much is clear.
The sheriff has a point that seems to hold water. Her sire might just be the one at fault. She's essentially a non-entity, is she not? A nobody that slipped under the radar until by a stroke of sheer bad luck she got caught red-handed. Do excuse the pun. When you give it another look, the evidence you've collected should indeed back up that claim quite convincingly.
And what grounds your intricate evaluation precisely?
My judgment is shaped by your vast experience and simply tempered by reasoning and intuition. It changes little regarding the consequences she must face for her complicity in her sire's crimes.
about I serve you Reynard's head on a silver platter in exchange for mine, unscathed, on my own shoulders? Qadir glares at the girl with a look that could kill, something that happens far too often these nights, but at least he lets her speak. I know all his secret spots in this town, plus the spots he wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. I'm wired into his network, his contacts, I got his playbook down, and I can stay one step ahead of him, with ease. Just give me a chance. We'll all be thanking our lucky stars by the end. A quiet introspection befalls the room. It's apparent that opinions are split, but gradually, it seems the consensus is shifting in favor of the girl. I give myself an imaginary pat on the back. I have reservations about this proposition. Consider the potential fallout if the entire situation spirals out of control. Qadir throws up his hand, clearly having reached a decision. I cannot suppress a smirk at how I disrupted their plans with barely a flick of my wrist. Quite the mediator I am, really. Capturing this wealth proved hardly a challenge. I wouldn't sweat the idea of catching her again. What's more, entrusting her with Cassell resolves two issues at once. It eliminates her presence and enables us to prioritize genuine concerns. But someone has to keep a constant watch on her. Valerie, perhaps one of yours. How about him? It takes me a moment to notice the Ravnos girl pointing directly at me, and even longer to realize the implications. Stupid, stupid, stupid. My eyes quickly sweep over the council members, catching the faint smirks on their faces. This cannot... Well, surely you're not considering... Well, this could play out quite favorably, I must admit. Quite favorably indeed. Bollocks. Very well, Padraic Conroy. I hereby appoint you as the agent caretaker for this Ravnos neonate. I hate to break it with you, Sheriff, but this call's out of your turf. He's with us anarchs, and you know it well enough. Technically, when he took on the whole peacemaker role for our cliques, he acquired a level of neutrality, so... yeah. None of that matters, I realize as soon as Qadir redirects his gaze to me. Your responsibility is to ensure she fulfills the assignment within 4 nights, starting now. Any slip-ups on her end will reflect on your record as well. Do we have an understanding? I nod in resignation. The situation has moved beyond my control now. Stupid little Paddy. Fucking moron. 4 nights. Not long at all, but they stretch out like an eternity ahead of me. This arrangement might also hamper my visits to Vritria. Now, back to where we were. I suppose all I can do is grit my teeth and do my best to track Cassell down. The sooner I get down to it, the faster I'll be able to return to my own agenda, and I doubt the girl will be much help. Unless, of course, that Ravnos trickster turns out to be a wild card. Well now, Padraic appears to be in a bit of a bind. I expect he's going to have to do some serious tap dancing going forward, keeping away from the sheriff, keeping his eye on the girl, making sure she actually proceeds correctly, huh? I mean, I guess I already know how this proceeds, although I really don't know how it truly must end for Padraic. He didn't seem to have a good end in Callie's story, but maybe there's more to it. Maybe something happens at the end of this one story. I'm very curious to see how it plays out, and I want to see what he's been up to in the meantime. So for now, I think that is it, and the last word is yours. Give us a like, hit those comments, let us know what you think, and hope to see you again next time.